Hello, thank you for watching our presentation. This is assessing the effects of gender identity and race on levels of perceived hireability, likability, and competence. We are a team of research students at MSJC in the Psychology 124 Research Methods with lab class. We are Christian Carrasquillo,
Damien Arambula,
Gabriela Mariscaleta,
Jose Gonzalez,
Sam Tringali.
Beth Valdivia.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to get us started with the introduction. Our statement of purpose is as follows. It is important to assess how employers view potential candidates in terms of their implicit racial and gender identity biases. Conducting a study about how employers perceive potential candidates is crucial to improving racial equity within the workplace and beyond. The literature started off with research that had findings showing that students have a clear propensity to invisibly gender each occupation without any suggestive clues, as well as a desire to analyze their position in the tacit phase of gendering in retrospect. Another piece of information that we found that was very interesting was research indicated that there were no generations where Asian Americans were advantaged over their non-Asian American counterparts. All areas had Asian American women with no difference or disadvantages compared to their counterparts. This suggests that even positive stereotypes have negative effects on those that the stereotype is describing. The data supported that Asian American women are more disadvantaged than not. And now handing it over to Gabby. She is going to go over the research questions, hypotheses, and conditions.
The research questions and hypotheses for the present study were, is there a main effect of gender on likability? It was expected that instructor likability will differ based on gender identity in the direction of the cisgender identifying candidates ranking higher than the gender fluid candidates. Is there a main effect of race on likability? It was expected that instructor likability will differ based on race and ethnicity in the direction of the Caucasian candidates ranking higher than the Asian candidates. Is there an interaction between race and gender? It was expected that the effect of gender identity will depend on race. The ranking from highest candidate likability to lowest that researchers predicted in this study is as follows: cisgender Caucasian, cisgender Asian, gender fluid Caucasian, and gender fluid Asian. For the conditions, each participant in the study was given nearly identical survey materials, with the only variance being the 4 different conditions. The information from the candidates on the survey included a cover letter, writer resume, teaching philosophy, and an example assignment. The 4 different conditions for this study are as follows: cisgender Asian, cisgender Caucasian, gender fluid Asian, and gender fluid Caucasian. Figure 1 shows an example of the cisgender Asian candidate as seen here.
and I'm Damien. I'm going to introduce the methods, and we're going to start with the participants and materials. For the participants, they were all psychology students enrolled in research methods courses at either Mount San Jacinto or Cal State University San Marcos, and consisted of a total of 132 individuals which participated, with one being eliminated due to lack of consent. And participants were aged between 18 to 55 with a mean age of 25.45 years. And for their gender identities, we had 73.5% reporting as female, 22% as male, and 4.5% as non-binary. 51.5% identified as Latinx, which is the largest in that group, 22% as white Caucasian, whiter Caucasian, 7.6% as African American, another 7.6 is multi-ethnic, another 7.6 is Asian, 2.3 is Pacific Islander, and 1.5 is Middle Eastern. For the materials, they included an informed consent, potential candidate survey, a demographic survey, and a debriefing statement. Each of the 4 surveys consisted of a prospective application, and they were identical in terms of candidate portrait, biography, teaching philosophy, and sample assignment, to control for confounding variables. The candidate photographs were sourced from stock pictures and depicted a gender-neutral candidate in a professional environment. The professors of record drafted the cover letter and the CV. Meredith A. Henry provided the inspiration for this teaching teaching philosophy. The factors of race and gender were the only ones that differed, and survey questions were adapted from Brandy R.K. Atnit's Community College Faculty Survey of Student Engagement from 2015, as well as their student evaluate engagements, as well as Herbert W. Marsh's Student Evaluation of Educational Quality from 1982. And Sam is going to go over the procedure and design statistical analysis.
Thank you, Damien. So for the procedure, the APA Code of Ethics was used to educate all of the researchers. Participants were drawn from the Mount San Jacinto College and Cal State University San Marcos Psychology Social Research Methods courses and were randomly assigned to one of the four conditions. Students were given the cover letter, vita, teaching philosophy, and sample assignment for their assigned applicant for giving informed consent. Participants ended the survey by reading a debriefing statement. The design and statistical analysis. This study is being conducted as a 2x2 between groups experiment. The study includes the following factors in the respective levels. Factor A was candidate gender or cisgender versus gender fluid. Factor B was candidate race, and it was Asian versus Caucasian. The dependent variable equaled likability of the candidate, and the data will be analyzed using a two-way independent measure, ANOVA, based on the alpha level of 0.05. And to go over the results section will be Ibeth. Go right ahead.
A two-way ANOVA was conducted that examined the effect of gender identity and race on instructor likability. The results concluded that the main effect of gender identity was not significant. Cisgender candidates were not rated differently than gender fluid candidates, although cisgender candidates did receive higher ratings. While the main effect of race was also deemed as not significant, Caucasian candidates were not rated different than Asian candidates, although Asian candidates received higher ratings. Lastly, it was found that the effect of gender identity on the instructor likability did not depend on race. Now Lizette will take over the discussion section.
Hello. So through constant discussion, it was hypothesized that instructor likability would differ based on gender identity, which was not supported by the data. This could be due to participants coming from cultural backgrounds with the LGBTQIA+ community and personal viewpoints aligned with equality. However, we found that research participants were conveniently sampled, which we observed could potentially expand research if other colleges, universities, and community colleges could also be a part of the survey for further data. Likewise, it was also hypothesized that instructor likability would differ on base, which was also found to not be supported by the data. As such, researchers predicted that the existing positive stereotypes would implicate that Asian Americans are smarter than their non-Asian American counterparts, which was supported by research from Yavorsky, which found that cis sexism and sexism exist in varying conditions in the workplace, on top of the fact that individuals could have biases towards other races, including preferences towards their own. Being said, researchers estimated that the reason for this is because participants consider gender and race as there is a rise in inclusivity in today's political climate, to which the candidate had made aware in their application that they were all for equality and presented this acceptance with their own gender identity and race when it came to their teaching philosophy. As we were going over the results from the study, we found it particularly surprising that no interaction was significant. On that note, the Asian American candidate being equal to the Caucasian candidates countered Kim, who suggested that the Asian American candidates would be disadvantaged towards their Caucasian candidates. However, the demographics of the participants may explain this discrepancy and is an area that needs to be further researched. However, it is noted that the manipulation checks show how accurate the participants are in being able to identify candidate race and gender identity, to which this means the participants are not colorblind. Though we were able to get a good amount of statistics and discussion to understand the results about the variables identified and measured, there were further limitations to the research that included a typo within the instructions, which is noted to not have been that significant. In contradiction to a planned method and purpose, there was a limited number of participants, as Psychology 124 students from MSJC were the only ones taking the survey, which in retrospect could have a number of factors limiting research. Additionally, the pronouns did not match up with one of the conditions. Though there were flaws, it was obvious that it didn't make much of a significant difference, as the participants were still able to strongly identify both the gender and race of any of the candidates. Thank you everyone for listening in on our presentation and for the hard work that this group had put in to make sure everything was up to par so that everyone can enjoy. Thank you.